In this lesson, we'll use Spring Boot to quickly create an application that persists data to a Mongo data store. Using Spring Boot, we'll auto-configure a MongoDB factory bean, which will expose Mongo components necessary for data persistence. We'll get started by creating a new Spring Starter project. We're going to name this project Spring-Boot-Mongo. So we'll change the project name and the artifact ID and then hit Next. Within this project, we're going to rely upon the web dependency as well as the MongoDB dependency. With those two dependencies selected, hit Finish, and STS will begin building out our project. Since we have used the Spring MongoDB starter project, we will now find that within our pom.xml file, the starter-data-mongodb starter pom has been added, and that's going to provide all of the components we need to work with MongoDB. Now, we need to do some additional configurations. So we're going to navigate to our application.properties file, and within this file, we need to specify some of the connection information to our underlying Mongo data store. The first property that we'll specify is the spring.data.mongodb.uri, and this is the connection string to our Mongo data store. So we put the protocol, MongoDB, :// our server name, and then our database name, which in my case is Sandbox. So I have an underlying MongoDB data store running as a service on my machine, and it has a database named Sandbox. Now we need to supply some credential information. So spring.data.mongodb.username, and we specify our username. In my case, it's stocks. And then we need to specify the password for that user. And once again, I am using password as my authentication credentials. Okay, so this establishes the necessary connection information. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and create a document that will be stored within MongoDB's collections within our Sandbox database. So we'll navigate to the Package Explorer to create our new document. And we'll just create a new class within the com.o'reilly.boot package, and we're going to name this class stock. Within the stock class, we'll add the document annotation to the class declaration, and then we need to build out the fields within our stock class. So we're going to have a stock ID, a string for the company name, a string for the symbol, a string for the CEO, and then a double for the price. And we'll go ahead and generate those accessors for each of those fields. We'll format our class, and then we need to annotate the stock ID field with the ID annotation. So we'll go ahead and save our stock document, and now we're going to navigate to the Spring Boot Mongo application.java file, where we're going to establish our application. We'll need to modify our Spring Boot Mongo application to be a REST controller, so we do that by adding the REST controller annotation, and then we are going to auto-wire the MongoDB factory, and this is a bean provided by Spring that will allow us to access underlying components that can work with the Mongo database in order to perform persistence operations. This bean will automatically be configured for us by Spring Boot's auto configuration. Now we need to add an endpoint to our REST controller. So we're just going to add the stocks endpoint. And this endpoint is going to return a DB object, and we'll name the controller method stocks. And then we'll import the DB object type. And now we can build out the implementation for our controller method. Within this method, we'll create an object of type DB, and we'll name it DB, and then we'll use our MongoDB factory to invoke the getDB method and we'll reach and grab our sandbox database. Let's import the DB type, and then we're going to declare an object of type DB collection, and we'll name this object collection, and then we'll use our database to get the stocks collection from our data store. Using that collection, we can then insert a new record, and we do that by using a object of type basic DB object, and then we can just append different fields to that object. So in our case, we're going to create an object that has a field named company name. We're going to say that name is Ford. We'll append another field, the symbol field, and we'll specify the symbol as F. And we can go ahead, import those types. And now what we can do, since we've inserted that document into our collection, we can go ahead and find that document using the find one method on the DB collection type. And once again, we use a basic DB object, and then we just build the object out to specify the criteria that we would like to search by. So we're going to search where there is a document with a symbol of F, and that should return our newly created document. With these changes in place, let's run our demonstration. So we'll navigate to the Package Explorer, and we'll right-click on our project, and then run as a Spring Boot application. And now we should be able to navigate to our browser, where we'll navigate to localhost on port 8080, and then we can navigate to the stocks endpoint, and there we see we get our newly created document, which was inserted into our MongoDB data store. We were able to create this application and quickly wire up to a Mongo data store using our MongoDB factory bean, which was injected into our application and our REST controller, and it was automatically configured for us because we just specified some information within our application.properties file about how to connect to the data store, and we added the starter POM for MongoDB within our pom.xml file. So Spring Boot performed all that auto configuration on our behalf, making it very simple to work with Mongo.